Hi, and welcome to the module on assessment for English language learners. Unfortunately, testing has permeated every aspect of education, and English language learners are probably the most tested students in our educational system. As we start this module, you should think about the following questions. What are the differences between testing, assessment, and evaluation? Why should ELL educators be wary of over-reliance on standardized tests of ELL's academic achievement and English language proficiency? What are the features of next-generation assessment associated with the Common Core State standards? Why is there a need for multiple measures? How can ELL educators develop authentic alternative assessments to provide valid and reliable evidence of ELL's growth and achievement? Test scores are often used to place or exit students from programs, determine grade level proficiency, determine grade level promotion or retention, and determine if high school diplomas are awarded. Evaluation is understood as the use of assessment data to make a judgment. For example, student grades, evaluation of teaching, evaluation of a program, or school effectiveness. Testing is a single instrument to measure a student's ability at one particular time. For example, a reading comprehension test of a book in a reading class. Assessment. Assessment is the systematic process of planning, collecting, analyzing, reporting, and using student data from a variety of sources over time, according to Gottlieb, 2006. An example of assessment is students' reading ability is assessed through a variety of tests and formal and informal assessments throughout the school year. Examples: observations, running records, self-assessments. Assessment can be summative or formative. Summative assessment provides a summary of what a student knows and can do. Examples include end of a unit test, tasks, tests. Formative assessment is an ongoing assessment which helps inform what to do next with the students. Examples include running records, assessing writing samples with a rubric, or performance assessments. Normed reference tests. A normed reference test is used to compare a student's score to that of other students. The test results are reported as percentile rankings. They compare a student's performance with those students in the norming population. A norming population is understood as the group of students who already took the same test and whose results serve as the basis for comparison. For example, student scores at the 71st percentile performed better than 71% of students in the norming population. Examples of normed reference tests include SAT, ITB, math, college entrance exams such as SAT, ACT, and GRE, IQ tests. Norm reference tests tell only how well students did in comparison to other students. Theoretically, if all students got all the questions right, all students would be at the 50th percentile. If all students got 0 questions right, all students would be at the 50th percentile. In practice, the test items are designed to sort and rank students and are tinkered to ensure a bell curve distribution of the norming population. Normed reference tests are problematic for ELLs because few, if any, ELLs are included in the norming population. Additionally, ELL's performance is ranked in comparison to native speakers, and ELLs are unlikely to become above the 50th percentile. A criterion reference test, in contrast, is designed to determine whether a student meets specific criteria, such as course objectives, or state standards. This type of test is intended to determine how much a student has learned the tested content. For example, a 90% means that a student got 90% of the questions correct, or 45 out of 50 questions correctly answered. Most of the tests designed by teachers for classroom use are criterion reference tests. Many school districts also develop their own criterion reference tests to monitor students and school progress. Developers of criterion reference tests establish minimum passing grades or scores called cutout scores, and they are said to determine specific levels of passing or failing. For example, far below standard, approaches standard, meets standards, exceeds standards, or fail, pass, commended performance. Examples: standards-based state tests mandated by, for example, No Child Left Behind. Teacher, school, or district creates their own tests. Criterion reference tests are more fair to English language learners because scores supposedly measure their knowledge, not how they do compared to monolingual speakers of English. However, norm, reference, and criterion tests are problematic for all English language learners since ELLs lack proficiency in the language of the test, and both types of tests are designed for native monolingual English speakers. They both have heavy language demand, which may change the construct of the test. For example, a math test can easily become an English reading test. If a high-stakes test is coming up, teachers will feel pressured to narrow instruction to teach to the test. Schools, districts, and states may try to find ways to limit the impact of ELL test scores on their school's average. Another aspect to consider with tests is reliability. The concept of reliability recognizes that no test or testing situation is free from error, and that these errors result in misrepresenting students' knowledge and ability. Reliability, according to Popham 2014, page 55, refers to the consistency with which a test measures whatever it is measuring, or the extent to which students' scores on a test are free from errors of measurement. You can think of reliability in terms of how consistent the test is, and it can be evidenced through internal reliability. How consistent do test items function? Any bad questions? Questions that smart students tend to get wrong? If many poorly written questions, the test will lack internal reliability. Stability. How consistent are the results of the test across different testing occasions? Many factors can affect the student's performance. For example, sleep, family problems, sickness. Alternative forms. How consistent are two or more different forms of a test? If students took both Form A and Form B, would they get the same score? There is intra-rater reliability. When a teacher is grading a stack of student essays, how consistent is she or he in applying the same criteria to each essay? Inter-rater reliability happens when two teachers grading each essay have to be consistent when applying the same criteria. Validity refers to the accuracy with which a test measures what it is intended to measure. Although people talk about a test being valid, tests themselves do not possess or lack validity. The validity of a score is based on the inference. Thus, validity refers to how test scores are interpreted and used. For example, if a teacher wants to measure students' spelling ability, can the results be used to make valid inferences about the student's spelling ability? There are three types of evidence for validity. Content-related evidence. Does the assessment procedure adequately represent the content of the assessment domain being sampled? Criterion-related evidence. Does the test accurately predict a student's performance on an external criterion? Example, the SAT is supposed to predict freshman GPA in college. A language proficiency test is supposed to predict how well a student would perform in a mainstream English-only classroom. Construct-related evidence. Is there sufficient evidence that the construct exists? Is the assessment measuring the inferred construct accurately? Bias in testing and assessment refers to the qualities of an assessment instrument that penalize a group of students because of their gender, religion, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, or any other characteristic that defines them as a group. A matter of validity, because bias is one of the threats to valid test scores, use, and interpretation. You may consider it as a source of test pollution. The biggest source of bias for ELLs is the language of the test. Simply put, a test written in English is biased in favor of students who are proficient speakers of English and biased against those who are not. Alternative assessment for English language learners include observations, which are the easiest way to assess students, and particularly ELLs, you just need to observe them, to watch them. Informal observations can be facilitated through the use of anecdotal records. This means jotting down quick notes on things you observe students doing. You can conduct more formal observations through checklists, where you establish what you think or you want to see your students do as evidence of learning. You can have performance assessments too. You can use a rubric to evaluate students. Additionally, you can have self-assessment, peer assessment, you can have checklists and rubrics, portfolio assessment, and multiple measures to assess your students' progress. To gain a more accurate picture of a student's language and content area knowledge and skills, we need to use multiple measures, a combination of formal and informal assessments given throughout the year. You should provide alternative to a single summative assessment that cannot account for students' growth over time. In the ebook, you will have the opportunity to delve into details about the topics I just introduced and listen to other experts discuss how you can modify your assessment techniques so that you can get a real picture of the progress your English language learners are making in your class. Thank you and enjoy the material I prepared for you in the ebook.